Now it says we're live. It's live.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Thursday where Concert Buddy usually has surface noise, A side, B side. I'm the other side, I guess. So I thought I would at least keep the time slot active with some folks like yourself that are into vinyl, into music, and have a little bit of a discussion with my buddy NovisNick. Thanks for joining me, Nick.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Dave. Appreciate you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. Well, we've Nick and I talk quite a bit, and we talk a lot about equipment, and we talk about sound, and we have a lot of philosophical discussions. I went to the Southwest Audio Fest a couple of weekends ago, and did a few videos while I was there. I haven't really done a lot since, but I've got some things to show I can talk about tonight. And some things that I saw, but really, I'd like to keep this as an open forum to talk about how we get better sound out of our systems, out of our rooms, what we found worked for us, what we found maybe is a low cost thing to do to help a lot. What is the way
Yes.
that you can get the most bang for your buck? I really think that's an important concept, especially as things are more expensive. I mean, I always looked at it, if I'm saving $500, it's a few more records I could buy.
Absolutely.
See, we got Vinyl Piper up here. Hi there, I'm KRWD. Thanks for joining. I'll try to keep up here. You're into vintage audio. I'm into vintage audio as well. I
Yes.
have NAD 3140 integrated amp, a 2140 monoblock amp. I have a Sherwood 3300 tube. I have a Pioneer QX949 quad. My speakers are Polk Audio RTA 12s and RTA 11s. So everything I have is from a previous century.
A vintage body.
Hey Trey, here's a good guy. Trey, my buddy from Houston. Uh, got Vintage Mio Records, my
Hey,
buddy
hey, yes.
Armando. Armando's on there. Hey, I got your t-shirt on, buddy. Out of Waco, Texas. And yeah, being into vintage is nice. Was it NAD yes. They did make good cassette decks. They did make a few. They didn't make a lot of them, but for me, Nakamichi was the cat's meow when it came
Oh,
to
yeah.
that. Music in the house. Thanks for joining. So my t-shirt more than I do wear this a lot. I just love the colors. I love the pop of the yellow. I mean, I just really love this shirt and I love what it stands for.
Well, I thought you
Um,
were on the payroll there for a while.
well, you are a perfect segue because I want to say thank you to Armando. He sent me this. This is one of those hamburgers they call them, but they're for vinyl records. You can put these. I haven't even totally opened it yet. I charged it. Has a tone arm in here. You lift the lid, you put a record in, and then it will play a record. So I'm going to be at I'm going to be at a record show Saturday
Yeah.
selling, and I'm going to have this available if someone wants to listen to one of the records they're going to purchase,
There
assuming
you
it's
go.
unsealed, and give them that opportunity. So thank you, Armando. Kind of, I know, as a thank you for me helping around his shop, which I
Uh,
enjoy doing immensely. But
that's
that
very
was very
kind.
nice of you. Very nice of you.
Yes.
Let's see what I've owned NAD, great value for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, used it with Yeah, the thing. So we're going to get into theory now. So the thing about the NADs is they had relatively low wattage ratings, 40 watts at 8 ohms, 80 watts at 4 ohms, but they had 3 dB of headroom. And that
Mhm.
made all the difference in the world because it could reach up when those peaks got hit because you're
Yeah.
usually not demanding that high wattage actually when you look at on average you're not using it, but when it needed to get there it could, and it also had what's called a soft clipping circuit so you wouldn't hear clipping if it started to occur. So really ingenious technology for its time, I think. Hello there, everybody. Brother Brian, thanks for coming. Yeah, it had high current. It could even handle 2 ohms at 120 watts. I mean, without flipping a switch. I mean, They even had a thing called speaker lead compensation where it would measure the voltage coming back from the speaker and make an adjustment if one wire was shorter and the other was hugely long, for example. So
Lots of
just,
math.
yeah, do the math. Yeah. So, yeah, the amp dealt with clipping. Yeah, it did. Yep, it sure did. So I'm into that as well. And but see, there's an example, and it's great to just jump off on this. There's an example of a amp you can go out there and get for probably $300 to $400. And to me, it gives you more than a current amp would give you. Doesn't give you a DAC, of course, doesn't, but it does give you a lot of life. I mean, pick the things up. They weigh 35, 40 pounds because of the power supply. You pick the current ones up, at least weighs 4 pounds, maybe. You can tell
Yeah.
what's in it. It's pretty amazing. Discrete components, yeah, transitions when the other manufacturers were, yeah, pitching integrated circuits. Yep, that's what the other reason it was heavy. I just pick up an old McMartin phono stage. Yeah, that is an older one. Yeah,
And there's
my wife
a
bought it.
few modern companies right now that are putting out pretty good bang for the buck. Uh,
Okay,
Monolith, let's see, the Emotiva, they're putting out some good designs at reasonable prices. Most of the gear is, designed here in the States and manufactured overseas. But I've been a Emotiva uh, gear fan for a while, just for the bang for the buck. Unbelievably, you can go for, you were talking about amps, the straight wattage with the headroom, but then you can translate that headroom into more wattage.
into more wattage. Sure, you can.
Yeah, it's so pretty much NAD was underrating their power ratings.
Yeah,
They're underrating them in order to be able to advertise that uh, 3 dB of headroom.
right. Yeah, it is. But the other thing it did in my mind, at least, is it taught a concept, and that concept was you don't you don't use all that wattage most of the time. A lot of people feel like you had to have, 150 watts or whatever. Well, I mean, compatibility with speakers is a big issue. How,
Yeah,
what does the speaker need? What's the SPL of the speaker? Some speakers, the SPL's low and you really need a lot of power to drive them. That's a different scenario. But a lot of speakers in the 90 range of SPL and above don't need as much. So Rixby said he was actually involved with a dealer that did NAD. That's Andrega, really cool. Yeah, you've been on the inside there. That's interesting. Musical fidelity provides great value. Musical fidelity.
yeah,
That's not the MoFi brand, is it?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
it? Okay. Is
yeah,
okay. I'm trying to.
yeah.
Okay.
They they're relatively new compared to. I say new compared to some of the other companies.
Yeah.
I'm not as familiar with them in comparison to some of the others that have lineage going back, decades upon decades. Granted, the engineers I'm sure that they're using have the experience to produce wonderful gear.
Sure.
I personally haven't had hands-on experience with their gear.
Yeah. So he talked about Magna Planar. I saw a lot of well, I say a lot of. I saw, I think, three different electrostatic speakers there at the show. And one of them is such that you don't need now to plug it in to a wall socket. It powers through the receiver. So I thought that was pretty interesting and a breakthrough for that technology. But all those things come with a price, as you might imagine, right? So I'm
Yeah, absolutely.
trying to pull out the price on that one. But these electrostatics that I heard, especially this one I'm going to show you here, was just unbelievable quality. And the room was small. Nick Fantazzi, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while,
Yeah.
my friend, brother Brian. Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, that's really good. So let me pull up, see if I can pull out the leaflet on this one real quick. Um, for me, I spent a lot of time listening to the speakers. That for me was kind of the thing, was the speakers, because you listen to the amps and the things, and you just, how do you separate all that at that point? That's a little bit different because you don't know the sound, so to speak, of the source, even unless it's something you're familiar with,
Yeah,
a
you have to
song
have
you're
a
familiar with. Yeah,
you have to have a point of origin with the gear in order to notice differences in gear.
right,
Be very familiar with the speakers to be able to swap out a preamp or an amp, but not both at the same time.
right.
Yeah, there's endless hours I can remember in doing such, and some gear was very minute differences, and others was, my goodness, what happened? Completely different signatures.
Exactly, totally different. So let me see
And
if
and
I
right
can go ahead.
right now we're discussing solid state, I'm assuming, because tubes is just
Oh
another
yeah,
world.
yeah.
I think Nick and I, tubes are another world.
So this was actually in, Dr. Vinyl was in this room, but these are the electrostatics, and it was a
Thought that was
small
your new
room.
purchase, bud.
Uh, they were using Steely Dan UHQR was what they were demoing,
Yeah,
but these were big, and this room was
yeah,
maybe 18 feet deep and about 30 feet wide. So it wasn't
yeah,
very deep at all, and they sounded fantabulous. It
yeah. They
really
look
did
like they
sound.
need a big room.
Loves me. Yeah, they do, but they sounded great in a small room,
How about
which
that?
I
Well,
found.
30 feet by 18 is not that small.
Yeah, but the it was pointing at the 18. In other words, the
Oh,
18
it was the
was
width.
facing me.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, you're listening at width versus depth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll be darned if I can find the exact spec on
What?
that here.
Well, that's okay.
But they really did sound amazing. And there was another set of these. These were interesting. These were electrostatics.
When
These
I lay down and forget.
They were shaped like a sailboat, like a sail.
Yeah. Sail away.
Yeah, but they didn't sound near as good, in my opinion, as the other ones.
Right. And
Yeah,
whose product is that?
that I can't remember it off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Well, that's a rather odd name for a speaker.
Yes, yeah, it was Sail was the name of the model.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah, I know
okay.
that it was introduced at the show, and then they had some that had, let's see where the yeah this was surround, like a surround, speakers on all sides, and the tweeter was all around as well, sound.
Oh,
It's a round, it's like a round tweeter and mid on top, and it's 360 degree, and then it has
oh.
speakers on all four sides of the base, of the quadrant base there. Yeah.
That's
And
funny
it
that
just
I'm sorry.
omnidirection. I think omnidirectional
Right,
is what they called it.
right. And that's a concept going back, what, 40,
Yeah.
50 years at least?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And they were exceptional back then. Some of them weren't that big either, and
Yeah.
you could not tell where sound was coming from.
And they had those in that room, and then they had them in a huge room, and they sounded just as good in a huge room.
Oh wow!
They punched way above their weight. I think they were from Denmark. Now, here's a
Okay.
guy, Songer Audio. He makes a speaker that has the mid and the tweeter embedded together up here
Okay,
on the top.
similar to the Kef design,
Yeah. Yeah. These really sounded good as
which
well.
which makes really good sense. They're perfectly time aligned, which
Yeah.
really makes a big difference. I have a set of the original LS50s, and
Yeah.
they were the standard bearer for us, mixing rooms for eons.
Yeah. So these were, in my opinion, I think the speakers that I thought was the best value. Von Schweikert is the name.
God bless you.
Yeah.
Von Schweikert.
And these had the ability to vary the way the tweeter sounded and the bottom end both.
Really?
Yep.
Not just volume, but change
No.
signature?
Yeah.
Wow.
Signature. And they had
Yeah.
these in a small room and a huge room, and they sounded great in both as well. Yeah, these Von Schweikerts were impressive. I'm going to spend much more. I'll be in Chicago next weekend
Yeah.
for Expona, so I will be spending time there. So
Now, will you be spending more time with what I'm going to call the more reasonably priced speakers
there will
that
be
most people will spend money on versus,
yeah, those were
gobs.
5-digit. Those were
Yeah,
5-digit
right.
type
And,
costs. Yeah.
I don't know about you. I got some idea, but in the realm of all things equal, those are next step or three.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as,
There
I can't drive them to work. Therefore, how am I supposed to pay for them?
there is going to be, I interviewed the gal from Expona, and there's going to be a special area that has all lower cost components in it,
Nice.
which I think is a really smart thing to do.
Absolutely.
You know,
You're not wasting the people selling them. You're not wasting their time, and you're making more efficient.
you're
These
right.
shows have grown to such a size where you have to, plan out your day.
Yeah. Oh, you do. Well, I've got 3 days there, so that one I'll have a little bit of time to.
Right.
But it'll go. I mean, I had 3 days of this one, and to be honest with you, I covered everything twice pretty much here, or at
Oh,
least what
really?
I wanted to
Okay.
cover twice. Let's put it
Right.
that way. I didn't need to hear the story of VPI turntables and how they got started more than once. So,
Yeah.
but I will
it would
say
have been
he's
more
very
than once.
enthusiastic. Mark
It
is
would have
very
been.
enthusiastic about their product. He's his family, and I
That's
appreciate
great.
that. I appreciate that to death. We need these guys taking on, this
Absolutely.
going into the future, because what are we going to have otherwise, right? That's part of the problem we have. As a matter of fact, let's see, here it is. I'm going to share this little article here. See that one?
Yeah.
40% audiophiles may be gone soon and no one is replacing them. Who's replacing us? He's really talking about us, right?
So basically, we are irreplaceable, and they're glad of it.
Yeah, I guess. We
No,
are the
except for
world.
the manufacturers, absolutely, and the older manufacturers that we have, we really need to keep a hold of, because like the pyramids, we've forgotten how to build those. Will we forget how to make high-end audio or desire to make it?
Yeah.
We need people to be purchasing it and desiring it. And I believe that the only way you create, more of us is exposure to high fidelity. A
Yeah.
lot of people, they've never, growing up, you don't hear high fidelity until someone introduces you. Usually it's the lower end stuff. And you're like, oh, this is great. Your MP3 is wonderful until you hear a CD. You're like, oh, wait, what? And then you work your way up, and then you say, well, gear makes a difference. And, it's a learning curve, education curve, and
I
appreciation curve.
I think true high fidelity really started with marijuana, but we won't get into the high fidelity part of that. But anyway, so what they did is they did this video to see who
It's
would
a
watch
perfect
it. And
picture right there
90,
after
90
mentioning that.
yeah, 98% of people that watched it were men, and 40% of them were over
Yeah.
65.
Yeah.
Which, when I look at my analytics, to be honest with you, I got a lot of that going on. I got a lot of us older folks that are watching, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But Now, Armando says in his store, and I've seen this, we have a lot of youngsters, 20 and up, that come
That's
in
great.
and love vinyl, and they understand how records are made. So they're they're very well, dialed in, so to speak. Um,
That's great.
yeah, so that's good. So Rix V Spinner
Well,
says, yeah, what you got is most of these people can't afford this big gear. Of course not. That's the
right.
issue. That's why they need to find product that's cheaper. There's a guy here in Dallas that makes a what is like a Dynaco amp, like the traditional Dynaco. He builds it, and it has the ability with some smart technology to ramp those tubes up very quickly. Within 2 minutes, you're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
So I saw a lot of interesting advancement. twenty
Well, that,
thousand youngsters a year. Okay, I thought you were
yeah.
talking. Okay, yeah, yeah. In other words, in his store, he gets a lot. Well, he's by Baylor, so that's one of
Well,
the reasons.
what he's providing as well is exposure. I mean,
Yes,
that's exposure to the music.
yeah,
There's other exposure to music through, other sources, but getting exposure for the gear is even harder because it is so expensive and you have to turn it and churn it in order to be able to display it to the public. Otherwise, it's a really hard time to sell and keep the market alive.
yeah. No, it is.
Was we've gone to the internet for markets, but that's not for people that are searching out what's it sound like, what is it, and all that.
Yeah. No, no, absolutely not. No.
Even
So,
with a lot of some of the liberal auditioning periods that are being offered, that's
and what?
something that,
Yeah, you mean that they're giving you quite a few days?
right, that's
Yeah,
something that hasn't always been there, but they've had to accommodate in order to sell. So
yeah,
there's a particular line item in their paperwork and business operations of, discounted or lost profit because you're having to offer it, and once it comes back, now it's a used item. So it's depreciated, and that takes money off the, bottom line.
yeah,
That's all part of the business sense,
yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, and
which,
there's
also drives up the price of the gear.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this kind of stuff. I hit the like. Did it work? I hope it did. I'll assume it did.
Yes,
Oh, thumbs
please.
up if you would.
Yes.
But let me
Once or three times, but never twice.
never twice. No. So let's see if you guys agree with this. This is an article that says 10 signs you're more of an audiophile than a music lover. I thought this was just to see how much of this we start. You you start using music to listen to your gear. So so your music is a funnel way to get you to the gear. And you're listening to test tracks to compare things and that kind of thing. So this is kind of like a Jeff Foxworthy. You might be an audiophile if uh, bad sound bothers you more than bad music. Well, they both bother me, I guess, to be honest. What about you, Nick? Nick? Nick went away. Well, I'm going to go put that back up. Hang on a second here.
I apologize.
Oh, it's okay.
I had
Okay.
to meet and greet the missus real quick.
I got you. Okay. I thought I lost you. So does bad
No,
sound
sir.
bother you as much as bad music or more than bad music?
Bad music is
It's
bad.
bad.
Period.
It is.
I, and I mean, and gear says that if you're an audiophile, you literally build your way to it. In the
Yeah.
beginning, you're at the lower end of the product lines, and you're seeing how it all works together, and you're buying and trading and swapping. At least that was my path.
Uh huh.
You don't go out and just drop $100,000 on gear, not
You
know
don't?
what it's going to do, believe it or not.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, but so you're educating yourself as you start going through gear. You find out what you like and what you don't like, and that goes all the way down to the DACs. Even though DACs are continuing to improve and get better, there's some that they claim are getting better, but some sound more sterile. It depends on what you like too. You have to
Yeah,
find what you like in gear. So that all takes time, unfortunately, money and education.
yeah.
Listening.
So
So
so do you agree with this statement there?
uh, one upgrade away leads to another. Sometimes it does.
Yeah,
One of the comments I got, I've been on a forum for I don't know, almost 2 decades now, and I finally found the system that I like. And one of the comments from a couple of other guys were that I've stopped churning. I'm happy with what I had. I'm not looking for that next little nugget of whatever. I'm enjoying what I have.
yeah,
There's
and that's good. It's rare to hear that, but that's
right. Well, yeah, well, there's always that next shinier thing, and you'll never obtain it because there's always the next shinier thing.
well, wasn't
So at
that
some
song?
point,
Yeah, wasn't that song "One Thing Leads to Another" by a group called The Fix?
I
So you're
believe
trying to
so.
fix something?
Yeah, but it's not broke. So at this point, I'm more on the consumption of music side now versus now.
Yeah,
If there's a piece of gear that absolutely blows me away, or knock wood, God forbid, uh, a major piece of gear goes down that's unrepairable, yeah, that would be a sad day because then I'm back to, okay, what are you going to do now? Since you are changing gear, being forced into it, now you have to start your research, and that cycle kind of starts over because not just one piece of gear goes out and you
yep.
replace it with something else. That doesn't mean you have this synergy
Oh no,
from
that's right.
the
Synergy is a
synergy can disappear and then you're
I
right
mean,
out
it
on your
it could
back.
be yeah, it could be like you have a subwoofer, but it really isn't delivering what you thought it was, and then somebody comes
Yep.
over and they say, "Hey, what's wrong with your subwoofer?" But that would never really happen in real
No,
life. I mean, no
I
one would
couldn't
ever
imagine. I couldn't imagine that would happen.
inside
Ah,
joke.
feeling the
I
love.
like the KRWD comment. He's exactly right. The problem with high-end audio is it suffers from the law of diminishing
Oh,
returns. It does.
absolutely.
It does. Yeah, it does. Audiophile gets a bad rap. Yeah, it's a little bit of a
That
term
is
that gets
true.
beat around.
Yes.
Um, you know, see,
I
I was
enjoy
in. Go ahead.
I enjoy the term shoot, you made me forget it. Enthusiast.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it doesn't have, since that term has, taken a beating over years. Enthusiast means that you're not necessarily looking for the next best thing, but you're not going to turn your nose up to it if you find it,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and it is true that some of these some of the vintage equipment is outrageous, especially really nice
Yeah.
looking receivers. I think it's the look, like the Pioneer, series, this SX50 series. They have a certain look, and they command a certain dollar for that. Is what ends up happening. Um,
I I've seen a company just recently. It's one of the vintage channels, and he's making vintage cases for brand new gear,
mm,
and they look really nice. Of course, they're all custom cases, uh, but it makes the brand new gear with all the bells and whistles
yeah,
match the rest of your system. Look
yeah,
good with the wood surroundings and all that, casings and
sure,
such. So
yeah.
I was impressed with the quality of work that was being done.
But is that like putting lipstick on a pig, though?
No,
You wanna make it look like it's vintage, but you're really driving inside,
but
you
there's
know
no peg because it's brand new gear that's proven to be good, and
Oh,
you're just
okay.
yeah. It's not like you're taking a cheap piece turn like a turntable, taking a cheap turntable and then putting it in a beautiful box and saying that's audiophile. No, this is audiophile gear that they're building
Oh, okay.
vintage cases for.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what
Which,
brands of gear it supports, so I guess I can't
oh,
say,
at this point, it's very limited because they're custom made
very high
boxes,
end.
and
It's
once,
all high end at the end of the
yeah,
day, right?
right.
So, okay.
Once you get a pattern down for the turntable brand, and you're able to incorporate the back
Yeah.
of it. But yeah, they're pretty much just drop in units. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think they were running like $500 for the case.
Oh, that's not bad really in relative
It
terms.
really isn't, because they were beautiful cases.
Yeah, not in
You
relative
couldn't
terms.
pick out multiple colors and all that other stuff.
There's a guy here in Austin that builds home consoles with
Yeah,
audiophile gear.
right.
I want to go
Uh,
visit him and film him. Yeah, yeah, it's really cool.
Craftsmanship costs.
Yeah, right. That's
I
right.
went to the lumber store yesterday, after we closed. And I used to be in that field years ago. And gee willikers, the price of product has gone up. As
Yeah,
it just from time passing, you know,
yeah.
during uh I don't think we can say the C word. Can we say it now yet? Uh,
Since the
right?
pandemic.
Right, exactly. But
Okay.
prices were stupid at
Oh
the
yeah, for sure.
Home Depot and Lowe's and such, because everybody was stuck at home and they were all fixing their homes or whatever projects. And yeah, but
Yeah.
I can remember a 2x4 8-footer year when I was in the business. It was 89 cents a piece, and now it's 3.50 a pop.
Yeah. Well, records were $6, so you know.
Right, right. So everything goes up. It's just it's like in my business. I see the cash register ring up for a lunch for two, and now
Hmm.
I look at it and I'm like, I would have never guessed it.
Yeah.
And you feel like a thief charging it, but that's what it costs to do business.
Oh yeah, I know.
That's one of the problems with having a good memory and getting old.
Yeah.
er,
Well, don't worry.
older
Both of those things will resolve
will
themselves
end.
eventually.
Yes, I know.
So this topic I wanted to talk about a bit. Someone watching YouTube reviews, spending hours, getting engaged, and
Yeah.
I have a friend locally who has been struggling with liking his system lately and what it's
Oh,
producing. And that's a tough thing when it happens. But
yeah.
he literally saw an old video, several-year-old video from Paul at PS Audio, and based on
Okay.
what Paul said, he decided to move his speakers 1 foot closer to his chair, to his listening chair. And
Right.
all of a sudden, the system sounded just like he wanted it to.
Yep.
So it can be something relatively minor that
Oh,
improves your experience, right?
I
So don't give up and go say you got to start ripping out all sorts of equipment, right?
I
Because
couldn't agree more.
if your room is designed for sound and not living, you're probably an audiophile. And
Yeah.
my room, I'm actually using a master bedroom for my audio because the shape of it is very compatible. And my gracious wife said, "Hey, don't do anything but a bedroom but sleep. That's it. Use the room for what you need it for." So, it's nice to be able to have a room you can dedicate, because then you start
But
talking about room treatments and all that kind of
yeah.
stuff, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Another
I've
s Yeah,
had
and you've got some in yours, yeah.
many a friend that you know they they'll say, "Yeah, I got my system and I just don't know." And I'm like, "Well, let's take a look at your room." They're like, "What do you mean take a look at my room? My system's bad, not my room." Like, yeah, the room is one of the most important factors in sound.
Mhm,
I had a friend of mine lives out of state, and he sent me a picture of his turntable and his speakers from his seated position, and he had
mhm.
marble floors. Yeah, and I said, do me a
Ding.
favor. Yeah, I said, do me a favor. I said, go to the laundry bucket and pull out all the laundry and throw it on the floor in front of each speaker. He's like, "What? Are you stoned?" He thought I was on something. I said, "Just humor me.
In
Go
spite of
do it.
that.
Yes, go do it." And he's like, "You're serious?" I said, "Absolutely." So he did it, and he put it down. I said, "Now put on whatever music you love, and call me back." 30 minutes later, he's like, "I got a brand new system." He said, "But the wife's going to kill me if I leave the laundry there." I said, "You don't have to leave the laundry. I just wanted you to hear the difference and what reflective surfaces do." And usually the most obvious one, the first one, with hardwood
Yeah.
floors or marble floors, is the floor.
Oh yeah.
And he
Yeah.
still shakes his head to this day. He said, "I just can't believe."
That sound
So
is bouncing all around, man. It's
yeah,
just it's
I said
crazy.
first reflective points, the ceiling, it all. Most of us have not done anything to our ceiling. We've or our wives would do something to us, but
Yes.
but it's one surface. You can usually uh, beautifully, beautification and add
A
some
rug or
type
what? Yeah, something to absorb.
of yes
Yeah.
absorption, or a refracting.
Yeah.
That's something a lot of people don't think. They always think of absorption, but there's also
Oh
refracting
yeah.
that helps a lot as well.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that base wave usually a one wave is 66 foot long, I think, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I've been ignoring the
That's
posts,
okay.
and I apologize, friends.
I've
Have
been
you been
trying to
keeping up?
highlight them. Yeah, yeah, I've been
Okay.
posting them. You justify spending thousands on small improvements. So what would you say is the most cost-effective improvement someone can make in their system to get, let's say, a little better sound?
I was just mentioning it. Uh,
Room
room
treatment.
improvements. There's a couple companies online. Uh, you can reach out to them. They'll ask you some questions. You don't, and this is a free service, which is invaluable. It's worth a lot of money, but they do it for free in the hopes that you'll purchase from them something, if not a full package, something. But you don't have to. You can improvise. Um, and send in room dimensions, uh, gear placement, your seating placement. A lot of people sometimes will put their listening position as far away as they can, which usually means against the farthest wall from in front of your speakers, which
Mhm.
is a horrible position to put
Yeah,
your seated position. But you don't know until you learn uh, room acoustics.
right.
Being 2/3 of the way away from your speakers and a third of the way from the back wall is huge improvement. A
Yeah,
lot of people like to have high back lounge chairs. Well, that comes up to about here, which means your ears are hearing the reflection off of the
absolutely. Yeah.
seat instead of the wall behind
Yeah,
you.
that's why I got a
All
low
these
couch. I got a
things,
low
yeah,
couch here. Yeah.
all these little things add up, and it's not a matter of money. you know
Yeah.
it's a matter of placement. If you have a bookshelf in the room, that's okay. You see a big hard reflective surface. But if you pull and push books in and out so it doesn't look like it's smooth straight across, but it's coming out like this and like this and like this, all those points are refraction points, and it sound will improve guaranteed, versus having them all lined up sitting like this.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's easy to
So
reach out to some of these companies.
yeah. I was looking at, and I've got my opinion on that too, but I wanted to talk about this comment. The guy said he was shooting out a record and had a starter turntable and then put a Project Debut Evo. Yeah, I'd
Well,
say, yeah, starter turn. I don't know if you mean a Crosley or what you mean, but my
right.
point is, yeah, you got to get a turntable, and then let's talk cartridges, because to me, cartridges make one of the bigger differences in sound in your system because it's a transducer, as are your
Hmm.
speakers. And you really should look for one that is compatible with the what sound you like best. Do you like it really warm? Do you like really strong bottom end? Do you want a lower a top end that's not as bright, or do you want one that's bright? I mean, the cartridges make the biggest difference in that to me. Someone talked here about cleaning up your electricity, having clean electricity. as a
Yep.
big impact. And that's something I'm actually in the middle of looking at myself right now. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that as well as even your Ethernet. If you're doing streaming, you, it makes a big difference on what you're feeding your system with, as far as your box, uh, your router, and your router versus your modem. Your modem's your modem. You can get lower ends, higher ends, as long as it's delivering what's being promised, because they don't always. So make sure you're testing that. But next thing is, what kind of router are you plugging it into? Because some of them are cheap and very noisy, and others were designed for audio. Those that are designed for audio are on the steepest side of, are you crazy? But I've noticed small, differences in my streaming system versus just a $20 router box. That's nothing but a switch.
yes.
No filters, no, uh, they're just slapping for their their point is the cheapest number of dollars they can build it with no concern about audio
No,
versus
of course
some.
not. Of
There's a
course not.
few audio companies out there that are looking to use better wiring. Some of them you can get silver dipped copper wiring. I mean, how crazy do you want to get? I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Well, that's,
I'm
yeah.
assuming that the crowd we're speaking to tonight is not an entry level, but they're not high end either. And if there's any questions that anyone has that you'd like us to attempt to answer or give our 2 cents on, please post them for us. We'd be happy to, you
Mm.
know,
Okay. Well, they're
kick them
going to
around.
see the comment that's up here. So that's the topic that Nick and I
Yeah.
have been talking about a lot. So I'm going to
Yes.
dive into it because it was one of the reasons I wanted to do this stream. And that
Yes.
is exactly what Record Keeper 33 RPM said. Subs are for exaggeration. That is my opinion. They are especially helpful in movies and things that are made to wow you. What they can do musically can sometimes be exhaustive. If you want to know that you have bass in another room, then I guess it's worthy. But as a person listening, I want the speakers that I have that are doing all the primary work to get down to 20 hertz. So the speakers I own get down to 19, 18 hertz. I don't want a subwoofer. I will get a subwoofer for 5.1 because it specifically sends a signal to the subwoofer and takes that frequency out of the regular speakers. That's different. That's design. That's what it's for. To me, a subwoofer is to compensate or potentially overcompensate for a lack of bottom end in your speakers. And if you look at most speakers made and sold today, most don't go much below 30. And that's by design because they want you to buy a subwoofer. So that's the way I see that market. And for me, I just, in my music, I don't want that exaggeration, I guess.
And that's all good and well, except for there's one instance where I don't care if it gets to 5. Okay, it doesn't matter how low it goes. If you're seated in a null, you'll never hear the sub at all. I've literally done this in a room where I've sat
Why
here
have
and
it
I'm
then?
like,
But why have it?
where? No, you, let me finish my point.
Okay.
You're sitting here and you're not hearing the sub or any low frequencies at all. You're sitting in a null. You move over here and you're, my God, where did that bass come from?
Yeah.
It's that null you're sitting in, the wave is just not there.
Right.
And you can move over. I've literally moved over this far and found oodles of bass. And it was just a matter of where it was. So speaker placement, again, has a lot to do with that as well. The high end is a lot easier. You can
Oh yeah,
point
it's
your
everywhere. Yeah,
yeah, you can point them or aim them and
yeah.
adjust by towing in and out. But bass, it's it's tricky. You have to, with the meter in hand, go around and see where that null is and where that bass is, where you're listening. Because if your ears aren't where that bass is making noise, you'll never hear it and swear there's no bass in the room. But the person sitting, a foot and a half away from you're like, oh man, it's got plenty of bass. What are you talking about?
Which I guess goes to my point. I don't have without having a sub. I don't have that issue. I can feel and hear bass everywhere in the room.
Right? Then you're either overpowering it or you're sitting in the right spot, which is which you're wanting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, every room has a sweet spot. But my point is, when I move, I
Well,
don't lose the bass.
right. Well, there will be in that room somewhere. No, it's just a a a base wave is 66 foot long.
Hmm.
So in that arc, you will lose it somewhere in the room. You're fortunate that it's where you sit.
Hmm.
In my room, the base really isn't exactly where I'd like it to be, so I had to
Oh yeah.
compensate
Okay. Well,
with
that's I get that. So because of your room size and because of the wavelength, and you don't have the room for the wavelength to fully form.
and the dimensions of the room. Yeah,
Right, right,
sure.
right. So that's yeah. I mean, that's how do I put it? That that's just the physics of it, right? I mean, that's
Right. That's
just
why sometimes they'll tell you to when you get a new sub, if you want to set it up, you want to put the subwoofer itself in the chair you're sitting in to take measurements, to find out, and then take measurements around the room to find out where that wave is going to be where you're sitting, where you're sitting.
yeah,
Sometimes you can put a sub on one wall and you won't hear it to
yeah,
proper effect in your chair, but you can move it to another wall or a corner, and that moves the point of impact,
yeah,
for lack of a better word. So,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
And this is a good point about going out of 30 hertz and what it's related to on a string of a bass. And it's true. It's There's kind of a point at which it's more of a feeling than it is. It's more
Oh,
than a
yeah.
feeling, I think, as I've
Yeah.
heard. But yeah, that's true. But I
Yeah.
guess
That reminds me of a cute story. I had my father come in the room. I said, Dad, do you hear that? He's like, hear what? I said, put your hand on the wall. And he jumped 2 feet back. He's like, the wall's shaking. But he never heard it. Hey,
Armando,
how are you, friend? Mike, please.
are you on
Turn your
mic?
mic.
Are you muted?
Yes,
Am
he's
I
muted.
muted?
That's the best way he's ever sounded. No, I'm kidding. You're still muted, my friend.
You know sign language? No, I know driving sign language. Anyway,
Can you? We can't hear you yet, buddy.
can you
Can you hear
hear
us?
me?
Try the volume button.
You're you're his yeah.
Well,
Try it again. Try it again. Yeah, I didn't see
can
him
you
on. I don't know
see
how long you've.
me?
I don't know how long you've been sitting there.
Yeah.
My system is
Uh,
very revealing. That's good. Some recordings are lack bass. You're right. You're right.
yes. Oh, try Japanese vinyl.
Yeah, try. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm probably selling a lot of. I am selling a lot of Japanese vinyl this weekend at my show.
Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of Japanese vinyl that I love. It sounds great. It's just not bass heavy music that
Yeah,
that I'm enjoying to
there
listening
was
to it.
one of the Foreigner records that I just reviewed. The Japanese version was great on bass. I was really shocked.
It's a
It
newer
it
cut.
no yeah, no No, it was back from the 80s.
Really?
Yeah, it actually lacked top end, which was totally backwards.
Yes, and ah,
I see Armando's still there, but his face isn't there, so I'll wait until he comes back up. So,
okay.
yeah,
Woo, record keepers. Let's see. Really things.
and he said he said, yeah, I tend to agree with that comment. I have the same, I am the same situation from
No,
my
I
perspective.
don't believe it's bases the subs are for exaggeration. I do listen to some a lot of jazz. That upright bass really gets you, it's more profound. It's to me, it's more accurate listening to it, and a lot of some of the box organ music is incredible with the proper subs that reach down low. You know, that organ music is just so gorgeous.
Oh yeah, no,
Uh,
it does, but you know, it gets back, in my opinion, to the issue is if your bass speakers can't reproduce it, then yeah, you got to have a sub.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's for
Yep.
compensation and exaggerate. You know, it's either
Right.
yeah, compensates in your room. It compensates too,
Yep.
but
And it's definitely, without a doubt, exaggeration for movies.
yeah,
We
right.
hadn't even touched on
Yeah,
movies,
well, I
but yeah.
mentioned it earlier. Yeah, you're right, but that is what
Right.
where it has a place. Quick spec,
Yeah.
what Japanese turntable did you get? I'm curious, quick spec, if you type it in there. I'm really curious. So yeah, Rix V, you're right. It's about, did they get a tape or did they get the plates, or what really happened? A
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
times they get the tape and they remaster it because the housing in Japan is very tight and they don't like to have loud thundering thumping going on in the neighborhood, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons people that have lived there have told me that.
And that wave will be 3 apartments down.
They are mostly string driven music, minimal bass. Yeah, that is their
Yeah.
what they're used to. You're right, and that's why, the clean record surface and the vinyl being quiet, and
Yeah.
the quality. That's why that always is on the plus side with them.
Hmm.
You know, but I think honestly, a lot of German presses are really good, and honestly, a lot of
Yeah.
UK ones are. But for me, the
Yep.
German is a little better generally, because I think it's a little better quality vinyl than the UK generally. When a speaker, yeah, here's Nick. When a speaker is said to get down to 20 hertz, that's almost never in a linear fashion. Yeah. Sub shouldn't be heard when on, but you realize it's gone when you turn it off. Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, now I have a set of those don't know. I have a set of subs in my room, but
Yes.
for 2 channel, I only used the single sub. Now, granted, it's two 15-inch drivers with a 1750 watt plate amp to it. But yeah, don't need the second sub for music. For it, I've listened to something and it ruins the music. It's
Yeah.
just too much. It's an over exaggeration that ruins music. You know, when you have
Yeah.
too much of anything's not good, right?
That's right. But enough of Tublandia. Jefferson, how you doing? It was good to be on the panel last night with you. How's it
Yeah,
going?
good seeing you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and
Yeah. And your
especially
grandson.
the Grandlandia.
Yeah. Grandlandia. There's
Yeah,
Armando.
test
I
test.
see ya.
Hello.
Speak. Speak from Waco.
Sound.
Oh,
There's the
man.
sound. Where's your sound?
We we need to give him some sound
When
advice. Apparently the show was
Jefferson,
named Sound
yes.
Advice. So
Well, I know his speaker works.
I'm gonna kick him out of the studio for now.
Let's see if he'll come back in. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
technical. Okay. What we
T-
got? Jefferson,
I got
absolutely. Yeah.
a TAC TN 5BB. First MC cartridge. Oh, okay. I'm curious. Yeah, I'd be curious what you think, the improvements have been, from getting that turntable and a moving coil. I haven't jumped into moving coil yet. I have preamps that can, phono amps and stages that can play them, but I just haven't taken
Yeah.
that dive yet. Speaking of which, I have an interesting thing to show you. Take a look at this. This is, wait a second, that's not what I wanted, is it? Hang on,
Looks like Wolverine.
hang on. Uh,
Yeah, I
what
have
do
a
you?
moving coil, the Nia Pro from Riga.
Oh, do you? Okay,
Yeah, I enjoy that.
look into. Okay, there we go. This is what I want to show you. This is how we're going to. This is how we're
It's,
going to get 12-channel audio off our records here.
I
This
thought that
was.
was your four-track system.
That's,
You do have a
that's
four-track system.
yeah. Well, just
Yeah,
Dolby.
quad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dolby Atmos.
yeah, there you go.
I saw that on April Fools. I thought that was funny.
That's funny. Yeah, like the Ice Baby,
I,
UHQR.
oh yeah, Gloria Estefan.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, although that might not sound so bad. It's that music's
No.
got a lot of smack to it, actually.
Yep.
Uh
Yeah, that Cuban mixture in their music, somewhat pretty good.
yeah. Yeah, Jefferson, as long as your CD4 carrier signal is set right and your cartridge can pick up the 30 kilohertz carrier signal and all the technical stuff that CD4 has to do to be right. When it's
Right.
good, man. Yeah.
Right.
So he's saying on the moving coil, impacts the sounds improved. Like instead of just hearing a snap sound, I feel the snap. Everything
Yeah.
has more weight without more bass, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does.
absolutely.
It's in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Denon 103 is a great cartridge. I've heard it. That would be one I'd very much consider getting. Yeah. Well, he says he just sprung for the custom Denon cartridge. But did Patrick offer to buy you it and warranty it uh,
Okay. We have any the vintage turntable buffs in the audience?
yeah, let's ask. Do we have any?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I have a dual 1219 right now with
That's a beauty.
the standard. Yeah, I love it. It sounds. I'm surprised how good it really sounds. I'm shocked, but and I'm happy. But never hurt to improve the cartridge if you can, right?
Yeah, always. So Jefferson,
Yeah.
is this Andy Kim like Be My Baby, that singer Andy Kim? I've got his greatest hits. Uh Lenco, that's British, right? Lenco, I think. Yeah, I've got a 12 dual
Yeah.
1245
Nice.
that I like.
Yeah.
My buddy, give a shameless plug to Andrew Foreman, Horiatis 76, HORIATIS 76.com.
Yeah.
He has a lot of refurb turntables right now out
Hmm.
there. And he does a really great job on them. Really reasonable, excellent shipping. And, if you have any issues, he'll work with you on helping set it up or whatever. Lenko is Swedish. Okay. I saw them in Britain when I was there. That's what made me think they were maybe British. Yeah. Yeah. Same person. He does carts on the side. Wow. Interesting.
Nice.
That's interesting. Very good. Yeah.
That's one of
Excellent.
those like to pick his brain.
Yeah.
you always like to information's especially in this hobby is just so important and so appreciated by everyone in the community. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Sure.
that's one of the
Absolutely.
reasons you're having the stream tonight is to share this type of information.
Yeah. And get people's input,
Absolutely. But yeah,
the, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I wouldn't doubt that my dual 1219 is my old man turntable when I get to the point because it's a fully automatic turntable
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and it's one of the nice things that the rumble and the negative sides of fully automatic I just haven't noticed them as much. Of course, that turntable is in a
Idler wheel, right?
expansive room.
But that's an
Yes,
idler wheel, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's absolutely.
Which
But
most people don't even know what
that's
that is.
right, right. If you care to explain,
Yeah, well, it's just a little like pin that has multiple diameter, and it's got a motor below it, and there's a rubber wheel, and that when you're on the speed, it sits next to that, and then that wheel it's hitting the interior of the platter and spinning it as it goes. So not a belt drive, not a direct drive. It's an idler wheel, and they're very well thought of. I mean, I had a 1229Q back in the day for quad. That was a
yeah.
beautiful table. So that
And there's
was,
plenty of people that work on them.
oh
Well,
yeah, you might,
there's a few that are experts on the duels. There's a gentleman that I think he only works on duels and only does what 4 or 5 of the models, and that's it. Doesn't
mm,
mess with anything else in the
is that
world.
the
Fix
fixmydual.com
my
guy?
duel, yes, yeah.
Fix my
He's
duel.
so accommodating.
And it's
Such a
DUAL, not DUEL. You don't get fix your fight. It's
there
DUAL.
you go, exactly.
Fix
But
my
yeah,
duel.
fix my duel. He's a wonderful gentleman, and I think he's 70 something now, and
Wow.
it's a hobby that turned into a business that he loves to do,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know, I mean,
But
he
I
knows.
wonder who he's training though. That's my question is, you know what I mean?
He has a fellow that he's been training by. He's I think in his late 50s or early 60s as
Ah,
well.
good,
So
good,
yeah,
good, good,
yeah.
good. That's excellent.
Well,
That's
yeah,
just like the mastering engineers. Who's behind you? Chris Bellman's behind Bernie. And who's behind
right.
Kevin? It's the
We're
same
we're
thing.
all with one foot in the grave.
Yeah, yeah. So,
You aren't digging it. Oh, boy.
oh, okay. So we got transactional
Yeah, there
situation
you
here.
go. Yeah,
Pat, how you
yeah,
doing,
yeah.
Pat?
Patrick loves that cart.
Yeah, missed you last night, Patrick. So we'll see. He's mounting his charge this weekend. If you guys are in the Dallas area, by the way, this weekend there is a record show at in Grapevine, Texas, which is just a suburb between Dallas and Fort Worth. It's right by the airport, DFW airport. From 8 early birds at 8, 10s regular till 6 at the Grapevine Convention Center. It's a nice little show, not huge, but it's comfortable. Got a fair amount of sellers. I'm going to be there, selling some records and doing some stuff there. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So yeah, that's it's no fun going through records that you've not uh, looked at for a long time. I've really gone through everything almost, and I find myself grabbing a record and playing it and going, "Oh my God, that was a good record. I forgot about that record." I mean, do
And back,
yourselves a favor, yeah,
yeah, and back into the slot it went, not for sale.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there was yeah, and I mean some of these records are ones that I play them and I go, "Man, those things really sounded good." My system maybe wasn't nearly as good back when that was a popular album, but now I play it and I'm like, "Damn, that sounds good." I'm going to have to add a few albums to my list of best records to use when you're, testing systems because a few of them have surprised me. So,
Yeah,
it's just, but it's an emotional thing too. You see, it brings back memories of things. Sticks played at my senior fundraiser for the prom, and when they were nobody, they had just released Sticks 2 that had Lady on it, which it didn't become a hit until 76, and this was 74. So, meeting those guys when they were $500 for Sticks back then, it was like, they were on Wooden
Yeah.
Nickel Records out of Chicago. I mean, they were nobody. But so yeah, you start going through that stuff and all this, stuff comes back at you. So that's
That's
the
a
beauty of
good one.
records. Yeah.
Was it quick spec CV4D? That's a
Yeah.
good one. You ought to shop your own collection and then pay yourself into a bank, right? Imagine the amount of money you would have at the end of the year if you shopped your own collection first. That would be funny. I like that idea though. Oh,
Uh, I'm not sure I understand this question, Jefferson. Outlaw country list. Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah, you can send it to me. You can send me a list. I'll look. I've got some people helping me out. So no, if you've got anything you're looking for, yeah, just send me an email, David at safeandsoundtexas.com, fully spelled out. Yeah. So yeah, Styx was good. I mean, Dennis DeYoung, stayed in touch with him. He sent me a few test records of theirs actually that I have. Yeah, they were good in their day, of course. So it's unfortunate when bands have these riffs, Dennis and
yeah.
the rest of the band and all that, TVZ. See, you name these to me, Jefferson, and that means nothing to me. To me, Billy Joe Shaver is some kind of device to cut hair. I have no idea. I mean,
Personal beauty device, huh?
yeah, right. Personal beauty device. Yeah.
Yeah, well, good luck with the beauty part.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. Well, God was cruel. What can I say?
TVZ, isn't that a TV station?
Yeah, could be, could be, but
Picking on
yeah, it's
Jefferson.
just so.
Give us a bigger hint to Jefferson.
Yeah, well, just send
There
me
you
an email.
go.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I'm not a good representative of Texas, but I'm a Canadian, born in Canada, lived in Indiana, and then migrated to Texas. So I'm a faker, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. So I listen to it occasionally when some of my kids listen to it, so I hear it occasionally, but it's not. I mean, some of it I like, and then some can get pretty twangy. I guess I call it. For me, I pulled out a couple of pure Prairie League OGs that I had, and
oh wow.
one of them had Vince Gill on it, wearing a UCLA shirt, and he was long hair, and I'm like, it's Mr. Amy Grant. No.
Yeah.
So
uh,
yeah, yeah. I'm a New York cracker transplanted to Berkeley. Very confusing.
no doubt, right?
Yeah.
in
As
a
he
good
called the
twisted kind of way.
People's Republic of Berkeley, by the way, as he says,
Yeah,
right? Just like,
right.
but that's cool. Yeah, that's the fun part. I mean, honestly, guys, the fun part of this is the people and getting to know them and sharing things. And
Absolutely.
today, a guy wrote on one of the quad forums. He said, I am in desperate need for that multi-channel of Elton John's Diamonds, greatest hits, because I missed it. I usually get these and I missed it. My son, loves Elton John and whatever. And he said, I'm willing to trade Tears for Fears tipping point. Well, guess who's been looking for a tipping point for like 3 years? Me. So I got a
Oh,
sealed tipping point coming, and he's going to have an Elton John Diamonds going to his kid. So
prayers asked, prayers
yeah,
answered.
yeah. So yeah. So I mean, I really like SACDs and Blu-rays and DVDAs, and
Yeah,
having, like Nick and I were talking. It's like when you got an Opal player, you don't even think about all the
yeah.
different damn formats it plays. It plays everything you throw at it.
Yeah,
You know,
when I bought it, you just forget what format. You're not looking for. It'll play whatever I get, so it doesn't matter.
yeah,
That's a good thing.
yeah, no, exactly. And
Yeah,
now those things like the unit you've got, I think it goes for It's like there's one on Amazon for $34.99,
yeah,
not $3,499. Let me
yeah.
be
They're
clear.
going for at least twice what you bought them for.
Oh, they don't. They weren't.
It's
They weren't 1,700, were they? No.
the '05s they were 15, I think.
Were they? Okay, I didn't realize they
Yeah,
were.
and the '03s were maybe $300 or $400 less.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I've got
and the only real difference was being able to direct the analog into your preamp or whatever, or amp, because it's a preamp in
RC,
itself.
RCA jacks. You mean? Is that what the difference was?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've got a 93 and a 95. So the only difference there is I think 95 plays blue 3D, which didn't really matter.
Okay, yeah. The '95s are, see, the 203s and 205s came after those.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
See, I have a
Yeah. Well, these honestly, these I got in the last
yeah.
5 years. I mean, I
Oh
got
yeah, they're almost, knock wood, indestructible. They're great.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love them,
yeah.
and I think they're still. Was 3 years ago got an update on one on my Oppo, and they've stopped making them 8 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
they did.
they're
They
doing
still
phones
serving me.
now in Europe.
They have been.
Yeah,
They were doing them in
back
Europe back
then, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but
I sure wish they get back into the game though.
oh, I know. Yeah.
But
So you've got Atmos. What do you think of Atmos sound, Nick?
oh, I personally love it. It's an expense, but if you're doing home theater as well, it's all
It's all
one thing.
wrapped
The
up. Yeah.
Atmos, when it's done right, it's an amazing format. Now you're talking movies, you're talking
Music,
music.
music,
Yeah,
music.
music's just incredible when it's
How was
done
that?
right.
Who's next?
I I listened to that 3 or 4 times in a row. It was incredible. I was,
Yeah.
yeah, I knew what they were doing because
Yeah.
it wasn't done for gimmicks. It was done for sound.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
a
There's a
lot of the
difference.
movies they did for gimmicks, just to, we need to place the sound there because we can, not because that's where it would sound best.
Right.
And that particular, several others are very good. Stevie Nicks was good. The Doors were good. Yeah, they've done some exceptional work.
So anybody
Um,
that doesn't know, there's a place called, and this is the website, the SDE shop, one
yes,
word.com.
the
And
SDE.
the SDE shop, and they come out with a new title every
Yeah,
month or so, and they will keep it up for pre-order for like 10 days and then it disappears.
yeah,
And that's I
yeah.
bought two of the Who's Next and sold one to
I
their
was,
came on the neck. I
yeah, I
never
was very
sold it again, but
fortunate
whatever.
that
Yeah. So
David offered
yeah, I
it to
usually
me.
buy multiples of those for that very reason. There's usually somebody I know that didn't know about it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you're into multi-channel discs, the SDE shop, and they sell a lot of good. That Aqualung is where I got that Aqualung. I bought other stuff from them too. So
yeah.
yeah.
I think I have something coming. I can't recall,
Rumors in LA
but
woman were best in Atmos, impressive in Atmos.
yeah, absolutely.
So
Yep.
a lot of good
But
stuff.
that's just another drug to get hooked on, format.
It is. But it's
But
funny. Some multi-channel like Toto 4, it totally identified instruments playing that were muffled somewhat, in the mix. They were, it was overlaid to
yeah,
where something else sounded more predominant. And so your
mhm.
brain kind of goes, "What?" It's like, what's that?" It's because it's really like peeling away back to the master. The multi-track, right? It's one more iteration closer to the original, whatever that was. So they're interesting. I think Nick has a full Atmos. I don't. Yeah, he has a
Yes.
full Atmos.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I watched if you're into movies, the John Wick movie, literally get done watching the movie and you feel as if you had been hit by every round that he had fired because the subwoofers and the compression it just felt like you were
Yeah,
getting shot up.
but
Uh,
yelling, Linda, I'm bleeding. That was a little bit excessive on your part, I thought.
and then there was another movie. It starts off with it's a war movie. They're on the beach, on the beaches, storming the beaches, and oh, what's his name was in it? Shoot. They're storming the beaches in Normandy in the opening scene, and they're going to look for a son, one son out of five that have been killed in Europe. Remember the
It's not,
movie
that's not the Tom Hanks
Finding?
movie, is it? It's not Saving
Yeah,
Private
Tom
Ryan?
Hanks, Saving
Saving
Private
Private
Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the opening scene, they have that storming the beaches. And as it's going on, I found myself just kept on shrinking down into the seat, hoping I didn't get hit with live fire because it was so realistic. I mean, the ricochets and firing and bombs going off, literally, you were on the beach. It felt that way. It
Mm,
was just obscene how realistic it was. And, the Atmos and of course, my system's set up with the Dirac system of setting your speakers distance and all that. If
sure,
anyone's into theater or even music, if you have a bastard room, Dirac is worth the money.
sure.
And it's just like DIRAC. Yeah, Dirac. And they've been around for quite some time. And it's an amazing, amazing system. It beats most of the other room fixers that I've tried.
Did you say rune fixers?
Yeah, it pretty much fixes the sound in your room. It
Okay.
takes measurements. It's a little time consuming to set it up because you have to have a calibrated mic and set it in certain places in your room or around next to your seated area.
Yeah.
And it depends on if you have two people watching or a room, and it takes all this into consideration. The mathematics is incredible. And then it's sent over to the Netherlands where all the computations are done, and it's sent back directly to your processor. You never get to see any of the math, but
No, but
and
the
you
time zone difference will kill you.
every
It's a-
time. But it really does an incredible
Back
job.
to the future.
Yeah, it's something else. Of course, most systems it's an add-on because it
Yeah.
is another technology. And but I've done it a few times for my system, and of course, when you change something in the system, you should recalibrate. But
Yeah.
once it's there, it's stored in their computers over there and on your processor, and you can back it up to a little zip drive or a thumbnail
I hope your
thumb
wife
drive.
just moves the furniture around a few inches every day just to
Now she
screw with
enjoys
you.
it very much herself. When we actually, take the time to sit down and watch them. There's
Yeah.
been so little produced any lately to warrant. The system was put together over a few years, and finding now quality theater it just seems to be getting harder to find.
Mm-hmm.
For something that's going to use that technology. There's, a bunch of stuff that you don't need that technology to have a good viewing experience.
Yeah, of
But
course.
this is getting away from, but the Atmos music and 2 channel uh, does a great job. Enjoy it thoroughly.
Yeah. No, it's
Hey,
worth the
Wyoming Dave's in the
experience.
house.
He is in the house. He is
Hey,
with that.
Rex. Jawbreaker. Hello, hello, friends.
I'm
Good to
looking at
see everyone. Any questions for the
Susan Weimer.
gallery or for the two of us up here?
I read
Let's
this
see.
and I was going to say I was a little surprised to see this.
the
CDs.
Dolby Atmos again?
No, CDs. Are you not seeing CDs
No, we're not
remaining?
seeing CDs. We're
Oh,
seeing
that's
your Dolby Atmos turntable.
yeah, you are. I don't know why this
Yeah.
thing is not listening to me. It
What?
must be related to
Related to your wife.
yeah, absolutely. How about that? Is that better? There we go.
CDs remain more than twice as
Yeah,
popular.
yeah, yeah. I mean, CDs, I guess, are still
I
selling
think they're
quite well.
making a slight comeback, personally. I
I
don't,
know the used prices have gone up a bit.
yeah,
Yeah, they're not.
I,
I mean, it's used to find them for a buck or two easy. Now they're $5. You know, they're not.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they've so 20% of Americans still use digital music players, and another 15 play cassette tapes. That's interesting. Reel to reel,
Yeah,
4%. That's you, Jefferson. 4% reel to reel.
yeah,
You've got three of them, so I guess that's like 12% for you.
yeah.
41% of
uh,
people surveyed hadn't used physical audio formats in the past year. So
wow.
streaming only.
Well, that's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I had made myself some notes earlier. Yeah, as far and room treatments, there's lots of places to also look up where you can build your own. Uh, Pretty economic and very effective. But
Oh,
to
really?
change the subject slightly, uh, dust. How bad a problem is dust in everyone's rooms as far as your audio rooms or home in general? Uh,
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, I have to
and
literally
how,
take off my platter because I can see the dust that builds up under the platter. You know, I
really?
can do it around, the outside on the plinth, but I can
Right?
see under the platter, so I have to lift that and dust under there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a permanent lid or do you have to, is it a hinge lid or
Oh,
one you take
the
off
hinge, it's
completely?
hinge lid. I have a hinge lid.
Okay. Oh,
But I leave it up, a lot
right.
because of when I play, I leave it up, and
Right.
take it
And
off. I
some of
take it
us
off.
take it off. Yeah.
Yeah, take it off. So, but yeah, it's dust isn't a good thing for anything.
Yeah. I found this year to be a pretty bad year. I'm not sure why, but does anybody use
Mm.
air purifiers in their rooms to help combat that, or do it for health reasons, or
Yeah,
anything like that?
I don't. I mean, the noise. It's for me. It's the noise. But I guess yeah, if you have it on when you're not in the room, that would be good.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. My thinking.
Yeah.
I've been contemplating getting one because I'm. It's a battle,
Yeah,
especially.
and electronics, the heat from seems to attract, dust as
Yeah.
well,
Yep.
the static and all. So, especially when you have low humidity. Yeah, I guess Armando has given up. So, unfortunately,
Yeah.
he was going to. It's ironic. I told him, "Jay, come on, we can talk about your YouTube channel that he started with Vintage Mio." Because he's interviewing some people. He just interviewed a guy who was a guitarist for Selena,
Oh
the one,
yeah.
the singer that was shot many years ago.
Right.
So he's starting to, and I know he's got a Michael Fremer interview that's going to be released at some point as well. Not that we haven't heard from Michael, but
Right.
but I have a feeling that maybe he has some different questions for him than the norm. So let's see. We had a Kenwood stereo dual cassette. New belts, very clean, been in storage for a long time. I want to get it back up and running again. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got an Advent 201, which was a very high end deck in its day. And it still sounds really good, actually. But I don't play it very often. I can say that.
Yeah. That's
like like a magnet. Dust. He's talking is like a magnet. Yeah, it does.
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's true, and it's truly unfortunate, but it happens.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah. Pulling gear out of storage
Oh yeah, I did that in
that's
the last few weeks. I got a pair of Polk Audio Monitor 10s, and I'm trying to decide whether to sell them or I don't know. I have trouble giving things up that I grew up with.
yeah. Well, I have a set of Bose 901s with the mixer that I
Really?
hadn't used in a while, and I need to get someone to put them to use, even though they would be a good use downtown outside of my restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
When we have, because those can put some sound out and some reach. So I'd be able to reach a few blocks with a pair of those, but it's just the time and effort in order to do that. It's just more than I have time for. So I should probably look for someone that's looking for a set.
See this comment? I'm not sure how to answer it, but do we have to hop on to YouTube Live soon? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to wrap up here in 2 minutes or so. So if
Yeah, I don't understand that question either.
yeah, so but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Maybe it's somebody agrees. I think so.
All right.
Okay, maybe it's another stream that's coming. Okay, that's good. Well, for those of you that did join, thank you very much for joining tonight. And
Yes.
I'm going to try to do shows occasionally now. Not at this time because this was Concert Buddy's time, and we're going to definitely let that continue starting next week. He happened to go to a
Yeah.
concert this week, and that's why we didn't have a side of the show called Surface Noise. But he'll be back next week with actually it'll be Jason that's going to be doing B-sides next week. So anyway,
Maybe this will be the highest rated A side he's had.
no, no,
Oh, he
no,
knows.
I'm
I'm
sure
kidding.
not. I'm sure not.
No, he
So
missed for sure.
yeah. But to you, Nick,
Absolutely.
thank you, Nick, very
Thank
much for
you so
joining
very
me
much for
tonight.
having me.
Appreciated the conversation and the time, everybody. Y'all stay safe. Have a great weekend and take care, everybody. Have a good one.
God bless.
God bless you all. See you.
Good night.
Good night.